Good day everyone! Today we are going to read and discuss Rizal's life when he goes back to Hong Kong. Rizal left Ghent for Marseilles where he boarded SS Melbourne on October 18, 1891. The primary reasons why he left Europe were the differences in political persuasion with Marcelo H. del Pilar and other Filipinos in Spain and his desire to lead the propaganda movement. But before going to Hong Kong, he told Del Pilar that he regretted that he could no longer write articles for La Solidaridad and he was temporarily withdrawing from the Philippines' political concern in Spain to preserve and uphold the unity among the Filipinos in Europe. But in spite of his political orientation that may not be the same with that of Del Pilar, he had maintained his high regard and admiration for him. November 20, 1891, when he arrived in Hong Kong, the Filipino residents, especially his old friend Jose Imbasa, gave him a warm welcome. They were glad to see him back in the British Crown colony. After a few days, he immediately went into the practice of medicine to earn a living. Dr. Lorenzo P. Marquez, a Portuguese ophthalmologist who had an extensive training and experience in this field of medical science dealing with disease of the eyes, became his friend and eventually helped him have many patients. In recognition of Rizal's extraordinary talent in his area of specialization, notwithstanding his skills and his tender touch as an ophthalmic surgeon, he even recommended some of his patients. Few months later, Dr. Rizal's name became a byword in the field of ophthalmology. His patients include different nationalities like British, Chinese, Portuguese, Japanese, Koreans, and Americans. He was not only one eye specialist, but also a general practitioner. In one of the letters he wrote to his friend Blominret on January 31, 1892, he said, "Here I practice as a doctor and I have clients. I have here many sick of influenza because there is an epidemic. Through the newspaper I am informed that this sickness is also causing ravages in Europe. I hope that you and your esteemed family will be spared." Rizal had all the qualities of an eye specialist, par excellence, and because of the many patients of different nationalities who had consulted him for treatment and to get well, his name as an eye surgeon landed in various newspapers, magazines, and medical journals. Because of his good reputation as a physician and ophthalmologist, people with the same professions recognize his remarkable contribution in the practice of medical science involving eye disease. Dr. Ariston Bautista Lin from Paris sent him a congratulatory note accompanied by a book on diagnostic pathology. Don Antonio Virgil de Dios, a kind-hearted man, offered him his services for the purchase of medical books, equipment, and instruments which he might need in the practice of his medical profession. The wealthy Mr. Edward Bosted, Adelina's father, from Biarritz, sent him a letter on March 21, 1892, praising him for practicing his medical profession. The Filipino friends of Rizal learned of his medical practice in Hong Kong and gave him their assurance of moral and financial support. According to Dr. Germiniano de Ocampo, an accomplished Filipino ophthalmologist, Rizal, a man of vision who sees far ahead, possessed all the qualities of a great specialist. He had a keen and analytical intellect, lightness of touch, deep knowledge of medicine and ophthalmology, and had been properly and adequately trained by master ophthalmic surgeons. If only he had devoted his life to the practice of medicine, he would become one of Asia's eminent ophthalmologists. Within over a month since he arrived in Hong Kong, some members of his family, including his parents, brother, and some sisters, joined him there. They rented a small house at number 2 Rednaxila Terrace, which served as his residence and at the same time his medical clinic.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Norhatapi Sultan, one of the reporters of today. So my report is all about planned Filipino colonization in Borneo. With the kind of socio-political climate under the administration of Governor General Bariliano Wheeler, the Calamba tenant farmers in other townsfolk seemed hopeless to have a better quality of life. Rizal planned and conceived an idea of how the management of these human resources could be utilized. He fully knew with empathy the pain and suffering of these poor Filipinos, that life in his country was becoming unbearable. So he thought of founding a Filipino colony in Borneo. So because of the hardship of the Calamba folks under Governor General Bariliano Wheeler, Rizal conceived the establishment of a Filipino colony in North Borneo. He also planned to move the landless Filipino families to that rich British-owned islands. When his friends in Europe heard about this plan, Graciano Lopez Haina, Antonio and Juan Luna, Dr. Ariston Bautista Lee, and Professor Blumentritt were delighted and enthusiastically willing to endorse and support the project. Rizal's dearest friend have been delighted and are willing to help and support to his plan. Graciano Lopez Haina, in his letter to Rizal on May 26, 1892, expressed his intention to join the colony and said, "I have great desire to join you. Reserve for me a piece of land where I can plant sugarcane. Send me further information." So Graciano Lopez Haina sent a letter on May 26, 1892 to express his intention to join the plan of Rizal. Rizal and his friends, even if the project was laudable, his brother-in-law, Manuel Hidalgo, did not approve the plan. "This idea about Borneo is not good. Why should we leave the Philippines, this beautiful country of ours?" he told Rizal. So Manuel Hidalgo is the brother-in-law of Rizal. He also objected the project. Then, so one of the major causes for the failure of Rizal Borneo colonization project was the refusal of the recent Spanish consul, the Governor General Eulogio, disposal during the Spanish colonization. When General Disposal replaced General Wheeler's regime, which was described as terroristic, Rizal already had a plan to move his family to Sabah or North Borneo in order to establish a Filipino colony there, due to the promises that General Disposal promised to the Filipino nation, a defined program of government for the reason that the Borneo colonization project for his perspective was an anti-patriotic act, because that will mean there will be a shift of nationalities, cultivate foreign soil, which will be their way of living in the land of Borneo. Other than it would be an anti-patriotic act. It would be also an act that would lessen the laborers of the Filipino nation, cultivate the land that was colonized by the Spain.
Work in Hong Kong. In spite of the demands of his medical practice and his projects in the establishment of colony in Borneo, it did not become a hindrance for Jose Rizal to continue working. Jose Rizal wrote the Constitution and bylaws of La Liga Filipina, or the Philippine League. So what is La Liga Filipina? La Liga Filipina was a group created by Dr. Jose Rizal on July 3, 1892, in the house of Doroteo Honjongo at Ilaya Street, Tondo, Manila. Rizal thought of organizing this league when he was at Hong Kong. With the help of Jose Mabasa, he wrote this Constitution League. Some of the known members of this league were Andres Bonifacio, Deodato Arellano, and Apolinario Mabini. This La Liga Filipina, main aim or objective of this as it is to unite the whole archipelago into one society with equality for Filipino and Spaniards in the Philippines. So the aims are defense against all violence and injustice, encouragement of instruction, agriculture and commerce, and the last is the study of applications of reform. Dr. Jose Rizal, other works are The Rights of Men or Ang Karapatan ng Mga Tao, which it rectified the injustice done by Dominicans in the tenant farmers in Calamba. While To My Country or Sa Mga Kababayan explained details the circumstances about the agrarian problem. Dr. Jose Rizal wrote articles on Philippine history, government, and culture for the Hong Kong Telegraph. Also, Dr. Jose Rizal, he also drew up plan of modern school for education of Filipinos, young men of good family and means in accordance with the demands of modern times and circumstances.
Okay, good day everyone. I am Asima C. Saparon and I am the last reporter from Module 9. Now let's proceed to the last two letters in Hong Kong. Rizal's decision to return in Manila was vehemently opposed by his parents and sisters and friends because of their fear of the negative consequences it can lead to the death of Rizal. But despite of the advices given to him, he still meant to be back in the Philippines. Before leaving Hong Kong, he celebrated his 31st birthday with some of his friends on June 19, 1892 in Hong Kong. And he wrote two letters on June 20, which he sealed and entrusted to his Portuguese friend, Dr. Lorenzo Marquez. Rizal's first letter was addressed to his family, including his parents, sisters, and friends. And the second letter is addressed to his countrymen with an instruction that this letter should be opened after his death. From those letters, Rizal spoke of the risk he was taking in returning to the Philippines. But he added, "What matters is death of one dies for what one lives for his motherland and in the beings he adores. Also, a man ought to die for his duty and convictions." So, from the first and last paragraphs of the letter addressed to his parents, brethren, and friends, Rizal approached Del Pilar, the editor of La Solidaridad, saying, "I am more convinced that Lete in writing article was too hasty, and you permitted yourself to be carried away. Friend or enemy, if the article has harmed me more, it would harm the interests of the Philippines. I going to activate the propaganda again and fortify the Liga." So Rizal thought that if his article will harm him, it will wake up the interests of his people, such reaching their happiness because of his sacrifice. Rizal could not hide his misgiving to Ponce, so he confided in the incident why Del Pilar allowed the publication of the article. So he said, "I believe that will have little misunderstanding and personal differences among ourselves without exhibiting them in public. As for myself, I always welcome criticisms. They improve those who wish to be improved." So the quotes from Rizal really inspired me the most. I always welcome criticism because they improve those who wish to be improved. So it says that judgments or criticism from other people is not just having bad impact, but it also have good side if you can see it. If someone criticize you, then you will know your mistakes. You will notice you will notice what's less from you, and you can improve from it. Okay, so the affection that I have ever professed for you, such as this step. and time alone can tell whether or not it is sensible. The outcome judges things according to the consequences, but whether the result is favorable or not, it may always be said that my duty urges me, so if I die doing it, it will not matter. So as you can see, Rizal disregards his freedom and instead he all think about the peace for his companion. So this one is from the last paragraph. Rizal said, "Should fate go against me, you will all understand that I shall die happy in the thought that my death will end your trouble. Return to our country, and may you be happy in it. Till the last moment of my life, I shall be thinking of you and wishing you all good fortune and happiness." So that was the last paragraph and final sentence of the first letter. Rizal says that his death would be great with the thought that it will be in the troubles from his family. Rizal, we wish all the good fortune and happiness to his family. So this one is apart from the second letter or the letter to his countrymen. The step which I am taking, or rather I'm about to take, is undoubtedly risky, but it is necessary to say that I have considered it for some time. I understand that almost everyone is opposed to it, but I also know that hardly anybody else understands what is in my heart. I cannot live or see so many suffering just persecution on my account. I cannot bear the sight of my sisters and their families treated like animals. I prefer death and cheerfully shall relinquish life to free many innocent persons from such unjust persecution. I love our unhappy land, and I am sure that I shall continue loving it till my last moment, in case may prove unjust to me. My career, my life, my happiness, all I have sacrificed for love of it. Whatever my fate, I shall die blessing it and longing for the dawn of its redemption. So those two letters was full of emotions, joy, sorrow, and fear, which attributed to a dying man whose death seems inevitable. So based sa letter na iniwan ni Rizal, it says that Rizal is willing to sacrifice everything. Handa siyang isakripisyo ang buhay niya, magkaroon lang ng tahimik at mapayapang buhay ang kanyang families and his companions or his countrymen.